have been knocked down a few times in my life, but one thing is I always get up. If my dad hadn't have fired me, I probably would have never done it. I would have just always been second generation, part of the business, never really proved myself. Our biggest quote around here is just 1% better. Just be 1% better today, 1% better this week. We're going to be a lot better in the end. If the facts and the data are there and you're thinking about doing it, do it. So next day I go into work, I go into the detailing station and there's a mattress there, a full-size bed mattress.
I love that. I think these are the 3 best answers we have received so far. Well, welcome to Cleaner Conversations, a podcast designed for the dry cleaning industry. I am Justin Kane, your host, along with
Sam Taylor,
the co-host here. And we just got done with a great episode with a lady named Kathy. And she, for me, one of the best, just very optimistic, has built a very successful business, developed a very good team, and has also raised up some good leaders. So.
Yeah. She talks about a lot of different stuff, but people who have high payroll, what did she do to actually drop that down to the 35-40% number? I know every dry cleaner is, or at least looking or thinking about that. So that's super important. She was a Buffalo Bills cheerleader. So coming from that and then owning a dry cleaner, not taking over for her dad, but inventing her own path. So she kind of got a little bit of that growing up in the dry cleaner, but started her own thing and had a lot of success at it. She's been the president of DLI. So wealth of knowledge, just a great person.
She learned things the long way, which is why we do this podcast, so you can expedite that learning process. So she's like, man, if I could do it over again, here's the numbers I would be looking at. Here's how I'd handle the family situation. Here's how I would roll out automations and new equipment. A lot of things that I think dry cleaner owners deal with every single day.
We had a ton of fun. We hope that you enjoy it. Again, please feel free and like it, subscribe. You can find us anywhere, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, all at Cleaner Conversations.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Kathy, so most people's resumes don't have NFL cheerleader and president of the Drycleaning and Laundry Institute on it. So how do you go from being a Buffalo Jill to running one of the dominant garment care companies up there in Buffalo?
Well, it's funny because for a long time, I was able to keep that a secret. And then once it busted out, now it's kind of like a running joke.
It has to be.
Because when people hear NFL cheerleader, the first thing they think of is the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And I'm having trouble kind of explaining the similarities between the two of us. But it is something that I'm really, really proud of. I got to do it for a year, and I'll always belong to that, that group of women that have cheered for a professional football team. But I really have to say that being the president of DLI is probably my proudest moment. I never saw myself at a table with operators that were that big or that smart. But for some reason, I was fortunate enough to be around a lot of people that kind of believed in me before I believed in myself. And when this first came to the table of, would you be interested? I wasn't really sure why they were asking me. But they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at first. And I'm just really grateful that they did because, over the years, I've come to see that, I do have some value to this industry. And it's been nice to be recognized for it.
I want to put a spotlight on just that statement for a second, because that, I don't care who you are, there's that feeling of impostor syndrome at times where you step into a space and you're like, do I belong here or not? Somebody sees that you do. And then over time, you start to build a little bit of confidence. So just walk me through at least that journey, right? Because people listening to this, they've stepped into spaces where they're even owning a dry cleaning store. They're like, man, am I in over my head? But eventually you can find your way. So what's your story around that?
So I went to the Clean Show in 2015 in Atlanta. It was maybe my second Clean Show in the 20 or 25 years. And I had the fortune of running into Peter Blake, and anybody that's in the dry cleaning industry certainly knows who Peter Blake is. And at the time, a gentleman named John Dallas, and they were working for the NEFA Association. And they just kind of said, hey, would you be interested in being on the board? They were looking for board members. I said, no. Well, they convinced me. So I jumped on a plane. I flew to my first board meeting in Boston. I sat at the table. I literally did not stop shaking until I got back on the plane and flew home. And then I had to do it all over again and again and again. And every time I got a little bit comfortable, a new position opened up. And I was recommended for the position. So this literally went on for 10 years to the point where when I became treasurer, Bobby Patel said, I think you'd make a good president. And, Bobby Patel's a pretty straightforward, smart kind of guy. I thought he had lost his mind. He doesn't drink, so I knew it wasn't that. And he convinced me. It was a hard push. I was scared, but I am so glad I did it. I realized I have so much to offer. It's a boardroom full of men. The industry is mostly male dominated, but I think that there's a female side of this industry that I have been able to contribute to in a great way.
Very, very well said. I think the moral of the story too is you just kept on showing up, because it's very easy to say, you know what, this is not for me and this room is not for me because I'm even maybe just a female. But you just kept on showing up. And then the cool thing, which I love about this industry, there are some good folks that look at others and go, man, I think you would be good for this. Like they do care about each other and they can see maybe a future.
Yeah.
And the fact that they asked you to be a president and not a cheerleader, that's a huge win, right?
What would this industry be like with cheerleaders?
That's awesome.
Not bad.
I'm sure you did a little cheer in your head, like, give me a P.
Yeah. Peter Blake, P for Peter. Okay. So how long was it that you were in the space before you jumped on the board at DLI?
Well, 2015, I came back from the trade show and they were looking for like understudies. They called district committee members. You couldn't vote. You just worked in the regional level, but you still got to go to board meetings. So I came back. I went to my first NEFA meeting. Then NEFA had a board meeting, so I got to go to that. And then what happened was I was John Dallas's understudy and he got sick. So that position opened up. And I was like, I don't know who's going to fill that position. They're like, well, we thought you might want to fill that position. And I'm like, well, here we go again. So I filled that position. I was an understudy for a couple years. And then that board seat opened up and I was elected. Took it real serious, sent in my resume, sent in why I thought I would be a great candidate. And then I was on the board for 4 years. And then I think you have to come off unless you start to get into the executive board position. And at that point, someone had suggested that I step into the executive board. So I did. So it was a full 10-year run. It just ended last year.
Wow.
I miss it. I miss the people, but I'm still trying to stay active, like with peer-to-peer in the shows and things like that.
Very inspiring story, I think, for anybody listening, but especially somebody who's a female, knowing that they're going to step into spaces that maybe are uncomfortable, but they're definitely qualified for. They have what it takes, and they just have to push through some of the intimidation. Oftentimes as we go through like this journey of running a business and stepping into our careers, there's certain advantages I think some of us have. One of them that you had was that your dad was also an owner of a dry cleaner. Sometimes we learn lessons. Sometimes we're absorbing lessons. And then you step into you owning one. What lessons eventually came out that you learned from your dad?
I learned what to do.
Yep.
I also learned what not to do.
Totally see that.
So it was a really valuable lesson to work for him for 20 years. The man I always felt was brilliant. Part of it could have been because he was my dad, but he had the opportunity to work for RR Streets and Company. So he had been in multiple different businesses. So he himself saw what worked and what didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the office. So I kind of learned the financial side of it. I was a counter person, so I would work at the counter. I learned how to interact with the clients. I learned how to deliver bad information, good information. So I learned a lot of that from my dad. But then our visions started to change a little bit. He always was the rainmaker, right? But I saw opportunities for other people to take on those roles. And that's when we started to collide. So that's when we kind of went in different directions.
And that collision, because it brings up a lot of tension at times. You're trying to navigate peace, but also changes. How long was that collision process? And then when you stepped out around 1998, what ultimately led to that decision? And was it a scary one or were you excited about it? Walk us through that process.
So yeah, I'll still remember it to this day. He said, I need to talk to you. I'm coming over to the house. Like, oh, I remember that from when I was 16, those conversations, So he came over and At the time, I was working for him, and so was my husband, and so was my brother, the three of us. My dad was semi-retired. He was a snowbird. He's like, this just isn't working out. So I'm going to give you a severance package, and today's your last day. Now, I had been preparing to buy him out. This kind of thought started to develop in my head probably around year 12, 13, because he was coming there less and less because he was in Florida. So we were basically running the company from October to April or May. But there was always a reason, like Dino kind of, averted to. There was always a reason why, he wasn't going to step down and give us the opportunity to step up. And so that clash just became more and more. So he said, I think we just should head in different directions. Well, there's 2 salaries out the window, but I have been knocked down a few times in my life. But one thing is I always get up. And when I get up, not happy. I can be considered a feisty Irish girl, fighting Irish. Yeah, so he left, and next thing I knew, I was buying a shirt unit from a gentleman that lived in Lockport. Didn't have a building, so I had to put it in the garage. And we would go out every day looking for a location. We finally found a used car dealership, hired some people to build it from scratch, and opened the doors in 1998 with no customers or money.
It's one thing to get pushed aside because that's how it happens usually in life. But then when it's a family member specifically, that's a gut punch.
Yeah.
And you got back up and you're like, okay, I'm going to probably a little chip on your shoulder, but I'm going to prove that I got this and we're going to make it through. That's a tough one. That is a tough way to start your journey, but you did it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But you're very proud that you did it.
I am. I am. Here's the thing too. If my dad hadn't have fired me, I probably would have never done it. It would have just always been second generation, part of the business, never really proved myself. You worked for your dad just gave you the business. You know those people, right? So yeah, that was like the best thing he could have ever done for me.
I love that perspective. Thank you for being honest about that and sharing it, because we have had conversations where the family dynamic is just a difficult one to navigate. So I appreciate you being honest about it without the sting, right? You talk about it like, hey, it happened and I'm grateful it happened, but I've moved on and you've seen success from it.
There was a couple years, where, like just stay back.
Distance,
and worked through that. And then, my dad passed away in 2015. So we were well on our way at that point. We knew we were going to make it. We knew we were doing good things. Yeah. And so before he passed away, we had the opportunity to have those talks, and he finally said, I'm proud of you. And
love it.
That was a big moment for me.
Huge moment.
That's good closure. The car dealership that you guys bought, was that right across the street from his location?
Yeah, it was not right across the street, but
there's a couple of streets, okay? No, they didn't do it by streets. They did it by lanes. We're at least 4 lanes away.
Yeah. Well, your hands are tied. What can you do? So part of that switch that you were just kind of alluding to, you've talked about it, running a $500K a year cleaner where you do everything. There's a bunch of, that's most of the space. They own a business, but it's also their job throughout the day. So when was the moment that you really realized, hey, in order to maximize what we're doing, I need to be able to offload tasks so you can up-level the business and continue growing? So how did you get to that point?
So again, I had a great friend. I had great people in my life. And she had taken this class at UB. She was a business owner. She had taken this class at UB. It was called the UB Center for Entrepreneur Leadership. And it was a year-long class. And she's like, I think this would be perfect for you. I'm like, no, those people are too smart. They're too smarter than me. I don't belong in that room. I mean, that was the story of my life, right? Anyways, I took the class, and one of the first things we had to do in that class was read the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Gerber. Life-changing. Sad for me, I didn't read it until 2015. Right, the same year I got on the board. So I wasted a lot of years. But they talk about the technician, the person that's good at dry cleaning. So they open up a dry cleaning store. They talk about the manager, and they talk about the entrepreneur. And that one made me realize, listen, I can't be pressing shirts and thinking about all these wild ideas. I'm just going to be pressing shirts forever. So I tried to get one person to hire somebody to press the shirts. so that I could at least move into the management role. And then from there, hire a manager so I could move into the entrepreneur role. I have great ideas. Like I am such a true visionary, but to implement anything, not good at it.
I like how you said that you just started handing off shirts to do, like very simple to do. And it's really hard to do. I mean, for anybody, it's really
it's
hard.
simple to do, but nobody does it like you do.
Mhm.
But I've heard some really good thought processes on a leader. You can't play all the instruments. Somebody's got to play them. Somebody has to orchestrate and conduct. So very well said. I know when I stepped first into this industry, I realized, man, when you look at some of the automations and some of the equipment, it's like buying a home. I mean, or a very, very expensive car. And you're like, holy cow, that is expensive. So I know a lot of cleaners are afraid to automate or to take that step. And I know that you probably had to push through some of that, tension of should I not? And then you did. Are you happy that you did? And how do you encourage an owner to sometimes take that plunge knowing that it's going to pay off in the long run?
So I think what I've learned is that sometimes I tend to not just listen and do. Like if the facts and the data are there and you're thinking about doing it, do it. Do it. Like if he's saying you need a metal projetti because you do 6,000 pieces a week. If you're doing 6,000 pieces a week, don't second guess that, right? Those numbers are there for a reason. People took many, many years to come up with those numbers. I always say if you're thinking about it for more than 6 months, you're just wasting time because it means you should be doing it. Money follows the automation. We just put in a kiosk last November, kept it kind of quiet because we weren't really sure how to work it. Last month, we had a 17% increase in that one store.
Wow. What do you think you guys were doing?
Nothing. We did nothing different. Just put in the kiosk. That's it. 17%. And this is our flag store, which has been there for 30 years. Same staff, same traffic pattern, same town, and bam. And in July. And here's another thought. We had 50 people doing the exact same work with the exact same sales that we now are doing with 35 people because of automation.
Yeah.
So
Now,
kiosk is a big win.
That and the metal projetti, huge, huge. I mean, we would have someone sorting all day long between stores after racking. I almost say you can't afford not to anymore.
Yeah, we just heard from a dry cleaner yesterday. Within 2 years, it paid for itself. And we're like blown away by that. So there you have some owners, 500,000 mark, want to get to the 2 million mark. A lot of things need to change there as a leader. What are some of the 1, 2, 3s of responsibility that you need to put off your desk onto somebody else's desk if you want to get from the 500 to the 2 mil?
You need a customer service manager, a production manager, and a business office manager. Those are the 3 things. And all of those people I have now, plus we have a few others, they all started at minimum wage in either customer service or production.
You have a lot of longevity on your leadership team.
Yeah, we're getting there. We still have some that are 3 years, but we've got like 7. Susie's 20. Yeah, I have a wonderful leadership team, but
Good
they
for
all
you.
came from minimum wage, counter, or production.
Yeah, that's a good reflection of you as a leader, but it's also good for those listening that they don't have to go out and hire the 6-figure person, that they can find somebody that maybe wasn't intending to be in this industry, but they have the skill set and all they have to do is just be guided and trained and they can grow with you, like you said.
Right.
There's do you know fashion cleaners, Kermit? You know Kermit, right?
Kermit, yep.
Yeah, one of his drivers, Luke Blackman, started as a driver. Now he's a part owner. Was Zach Orsi of Fashion Cleaners. So there's a lot of upside.
We've had better luck hiring and promoting from within because now they know the culture, you know them, versus like trying to hire from the outside.
Now you're looking at a few numbers from a 30,000 foot view, own the company, lead the company. What are some of those numbers that you make sure you're looking at to know, hey, we're in a good spot as a company? So somebody listening to this, they do own, they may not be a numbers person or they don't know what numbers to be looking at.
So kind of funny that you say that. And what I'm trying to do is just accelerate everybody's learning curve a lot faster than mine, right?
Okay.
My learning curve, I'm still learning, but the big curve probably took me 20 years. And had I known some of this stuff sooner, my learning curve and ramp up could have been faster. I never looked at a P&L or even understood a P&L So probably 7 years ago.
Which is wild to think that you could own a company, run a company, and then
$2 million company at the time and not know how to read a P&L. The only number I looked at was how much money there was in the bank and could I make payroll. That was my driving number for 20 years.
common for so many business owners.
But if you know those numbers, right? Because now I go to a show and I find a number, whatever it is. It's a PPOH production number. Should be 18. I didn't even know how to figure it out, right? He sat with me, really patient, sent me the spreadsheet, had me fill it out, send it back to him. I was at 12. If I had stayed at 12 when I should have been at 18, 15 years ago, I'd probably still be at 500,000 pressing shirts. That's how important those numbers are, right? And you don't have to be a math wizard. You don't have to have a finance degree in economics. You just have to look at certain numbers every day.
All right. So certain numbers are what? Just give us a few examples.
I look at, we have smart systems. So I look at the lot manager every day. That kind of tells me if everything's getting delivered and done where and when it should be. It also tells me if there's a bottleneck. So I don't even have to go into production. I can just look at that report. Payroll, another one. If I had only known my payroll was running 50%, I had people telling me, oh, that's crazy. You should be at 35. And I always thought these people were like ego people that, you can't do 35. Like, I have a good company. I'm at 50. Yeah, you can. Maybe not today, but if you know what a number should be, and then you just start like whacking at it every week, looking at it every day, you can get there. So we were running about 45 for probably 15 years, got to 40. And then recently, between automation and just tracking, we've been able to stay between the 35 and 40. But I never knew what that sweet spot was, right? So now I want to tell people the sweet spot is 35 to 40. If you're at 45, that's okay. Shoot for 44 next week.
Yeah.
Have everybody come in a half hour later, right? Just those little teeny tiny steps over time. Our biggest quote around here is just 1% better. Just be 1% better today, 1% better this week. We're going to be a lot better in the end. Another number I look at besides payroll is pieces per hour. And we kind of talked about what that number should be, claims, and then lost revenue.
How often do you get into the claims side of things?
I don't do claims at all.
Okay.
I was never good at it. I always took it personally, right? So my office manager, Sue, she started out in inspection, then she moved into the office, and then she handled claims. So in the 30 years we've had the company, there's only been 3 people that have handled claims, me, and then Sue, and now River handles anything up to 250, or River handles everything up to 150. Sue gets to 250, and then I get involved anything over 250.
It's a great, whatever that number is, it's a great way to do it. So not everything escalates to you, and certain people have ownership and accountability, and they're able to make a decision without you having to give the final approval. I love that. Just a quick recap. So one, really get to understand a P&L, right? Because it's an insecurity. If you feel like you're not good with math or numbers, you're like, oh, I can't understand this. Well, you can within minutes.
Yes.
Truly, you can.
Yes.
Lot manager, you look at payroll at a certain percentage, 35, piece count per hour, claims, and then the lost revenue as well. So thank you. Very practical. And I think that's going to be extremely helpful for anybody to start with some of those metrics. So
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
really.
Just start with one of them.
Yep.
Right. Make one of them your intention. Because we have another saying around here about being intentional. If you're not intentional, you'll drift.
Yep.
So try to stay intent. Just take one of those little reports and just talk about it every single day or once a week with your team. And then they become part of it, and they're just as excited when they meet their quota or they beat their number every week. And so, it's a lot less push on my part now.
Setup that you guys have is very impressive.
Yep.
Thank you.
Kathy, we have a caller question. And this one comes from your niece saying, what kind of budget did you set aside because your social media has improved over the last several years? What budget and how did you think about the social media side in finding a social media manager who can get it?
Wow. That's, again, like half of my journey has been luck, right? Opportunity meets, preparedness. I didn't understand marketing for the first 25 years, right? Just the last 5 years, I've kind of started to see. And I think because before COVID, word of mouth was working, right? It was probably working for 80% of the dry cleaners, in my medium-sized category. Then once COVID hit, piece counts dropped. Things got a little bit tougher. We had to do something different. And so I started to realize, okay, let's make an investment in marketing and see if there's a return on it, because it's hard to measure those returns, right? So we're looking for a marketing person, but what does that look like, right? Is it a salesperson? Is it a graphic design person? Is it social media? Like, they wear so many different hats. So we were lucky enough to find Lila, who is absolutely the most talented person I've ever met in my life. And she just gets the company, right? You can have somebody that's great at social media, but if they don't get you and they don't get the company, then their posts are going to be, but when those posts come through my phone, like, I'll literally start laughing. Like, she had one the other day, what laundry sounds like, and it was just like, Then she said, what does laundry sound like at Benzinger's? And she added this really cool song to
Love
it. It was, yeah, it's just these ideas that just blossom out of her head. And now she's kind of getting into more of the numbers, more of the promotion, trying to be strategic about promotions. And again, you got to outsource it. I agree that there's just so much there to know and learn, but we're having a lot of fun learning it.
Did you guys have to go through a couple of those people to find it? Yeah.
Yeah. It was pure luck. And she's absolutely the most beautiful soul you'll ever meet.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. So you had been talking about it a minute ago, but things have changed. People are wearing a lot of Lululemon sweatpants, T-shirts, things like that. You guys have leaned into wash and fold, right?
Yes.
So how are you guys looking at that? I know that wash and fold, people were talking very highly about it for a while.
So I always see opportunities like that as just the next best thing. And it takes a while. I think people are a little impatient. I think a lot of the old school doesn't understand it. They don't know how to start it. They don't know how to price. They just don't know. And they're afraid to try it and make mistakes. Where with me, I look back on our delivery service, people are like, how did you do that? I had a van and I had a vision and I made a whole bunch of mistakes and I finally figured it out. And the same with our wash and fold. After COVID, we had to do something. So we started, promoting it, and then it started to pick up. I see wash and fold getting really big in about 3 to 4 years. But if you're in now and you're just reminding them and getting them to think about it, it's like the guy that comes and mows your lawn, right? You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm not doing my lawn anymore. You think about it and you think about it, and then you finally do it. So we've gotten into the subscription world. We've priced it all over the place. We've priced it wrong. We've priced it wrong again, but we just keep adjusting until we get it right.
Yeah. Something that stands out to me, I think you've alluded to it in a number of different statements. You're very big on process. Like, let this thing play out, stay to the game. I'm not sure you can out-endure any competitor you have, but it just seems like you trust the process and you don't get overwhelmed if it's not exactly right, because you just adjust here and there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly. And sometimes they'll ask me questions. Well, what about this or what about that? Number one, I don't like one-offs. I don't like what if to create a negative response, right? Like, that's not going to do any of us. I'm overly optimistic, and everything I've kind of tried to create has worked because there's no other option, right? It's going to work. We know that the future says people aren't going to want to do laundry 5 years from now, 8 years from now. So let's get going now, so we are in the best possible position we can be in.
And the reason why that's good is because it's not about, it's not working right now. Well, no, get in there, because you get to practice on a smaller amount and get this thing dialed in, because the bigger amount is coming. Yep. Exactly. And you can really dial that in. You have a very big heart for developing leaders, and you usually develop them from the team that you have. How do you spot who a future leader might be? What are you looking for as a
So when I was in high school, my dream was to become a teacher. I was a gymnastics coach for 10 years. So I loved helping people achieve something they couldn't think was possible. So to take a 10-year-old gymnast and show her that she can do a cartwheel on the balance beam, or she can do a backflip, that was always fulfilling to me. And so I kind of look at business the same way. Right? I want all of these people to have a life that's full and prosperous like I've been able to enjoy. Yet I haven't been able to enjoy, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy it if it weren't for them.
Yep.
So I constantly would like to give back to them. But going back to your question, I look for initiative. Coachability is huge for me.
Well, even what you said about Lila, right? Where you're like, she just gets us. She has a beautiful soul. It seems like something when you said it about her, you're like, I recognize there's a trait about her that's very unique.
Right. I
Yep.
can read people really well. I can test them without them realizing they're being tested.
Yep.
With, questions that I already know the answer to, but I want to see what their thought process is. I just really enjoy the study of people and why they do the things that they do without making them feel like I'm questioning them. So culture-wise, you have to be honest, humble, hardworking, positive. Those are the traits that are important to me.
That's interesting, Kathy. One of my first jobs, the owner of the company asked me, on this wall, which brick am I? It was a brick wall. And which brick? Is that one of those questions that you ask people?
Did you get it right?
No, but that's a good one. I like that.
I'm the corner brick.
Oh, well, that says a lot about you.
Right?
Kathy is my spirit animal. I feel like if I was a female, I'd be Kathy for sure.
Yep.
Oh, I love it.
So as that coach inside of you, going to, and serving as the DLI president, what was it like working with, operators of all sizes? The owner who's pressing the shirts like you were just talking about to people who are doing 10 plus million in revenue annually.
Right. It's interesting because they see themselves so differently. I see us as we're all the same, right? You're just pressing more shirts than me, but you're no different. Your thought process isn't a whole lot different. Just because you're from Texas and I'm from New York doesn't mean it's different. And I hear that a lot. I hear people try to talk about our differences when really we're all very, very similar. Some of the things I notice is that some of those bigger operators will sometimes forget what it was like at 500, or some of them maybe never experienced it because they're second or third generation. I don't ever want to forget what that felt like because I feel like I can help more people if I know what it felt like and what I needed to do to get from there to there so that I can help you.
So you've been pretty active in terms of keeping an eye on what's coming down the road with PERC, plastic bags, labor rules, all that kind of stuff. Is there anything that you're seeing coming down the road that you're thinking about right now?
So one of the things my dad always taught me was never worry about things you can't control. So government regulations, why I think it's smart to keep your ears open. I also try to push out the white noise, right? Because we've been talking about PERC for 20 years and rightfully so, right? I think everything that's, happened with PERC was due to happen. And I think regulations kind of helped that. And they gave us plenty of time. So I didn't feel like the government was attacking us. I think they're starting to realize with PFAS, that's more the manufacturer than us. So that's kind of a good thing. I think what we're seeing now is a little shift in government regulations towards the manufacturers and not the dry cleaners, which is really going to be cool because one of the big things coming up is the Textile Recovery Act. I think there's so many issues with landfill overflow from fast fashion that now manufacturers are being required to tag their items to make sure that they don't all end up in the landfill, which opens up a huge opportunity for us to make a name for ourselves because now we can clean it, restyle it, reuse it, even resell it and kind of make a good name for the dry cleaning industry because our name hasn't always been great as far as the industry goes. But I think this Textile Recovery Act is going to be something that we're going to really be able to jump on board and really make it a great name for ourselves.
I love it. One of the things that we share here at Cleaner Marketing is IPO, issues and problems equal opportunity. And throughout this whole conversation, I just keep on seeing you shift from what could be something to complain about, something that I can't control, but how dare they, to guys, this is an opportunity. Like you always are able to make that happen. So I really appreciate hearing that from you. There's a favorite section of this interview or podcast that Sammy loves to get to. But before we get to off the clock, I do want to ask you two final questions. The first one is, and this is a dumb question, but it needs to be said, are you optimistic about the future of this industry?
Oh my gosh, I've never been more optimistic.
Love it.
Than I am today. And it really upsets me. I hear people not being optimistic about the industry because, like you say, what is it, IOP or something?
Yeah, IPO, yep. Issues
There
and
are
problems. Yep.
so many opportunities for
Sure.
us now. They talk about alterations with all the weight loss drugs and, we can clean shoes and patio cushions and everything and anything. And then you throw in this Textile Recovery Act, the things that we're going to be able to do with that are just going to be amazing. So yes.
Very cool. It's good to hear that. Last question. I love to finish off with this question because I know someone's watching. Maybe they came because they're looking for answers, but they're highly discouraged, right? They can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're trying to figure out, should I stay in? Can I make it? What's your encouragement to somebody who really believes they can succeed in this industry, but they're just struggling with business?
Number one, I think you have to remember that your mind believes what you tell it. So you've got to continually tell yourself positive things so that good things will happen. If we go through, if I hear about piece counts being down one more time,
Yep.
Stop. Yeah, they are down. But you know what? It's also created all of these other opportunities thanks to COVID. So let's kind of focus on that. So like I said, I just keep saying your mind believes what you tell it. So start telling it positive things. Start talking about the things you can do and not what you can't do. Because here's the thing. We can't control piece count, right? What's going to come in the door is going to come in the door, right? All the wishing and hoping is not going to change that. But what could change your bottom line is taking, one project and just trying to get better at it every day.
Very well said. Well, Sammy, this is the time you've been waiting for. Off the
Me
clock.
too.
Off the clock. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But she is Mrs. Optimistic. So let's just take that with
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Kathy, welcome to the off the clock section, by the way.
her voices get a little deeper.
Yeah. Kathy, what's some of the craziest things that you have seen in this business during your time in this? Yeah, take some water.
Take water.
Take some
Something
water.
that's come across the counter, something that happened in the industry, something that you discovered.
Now, I can keep this R-rated or I can go to X.
Let's go PG-13.
Okay.
This is my section.
My bad.
We can do R.
Okay.
Okay. So I struggled. This was the one question that I really, really struggled with because I haven't been in the counter in a long time. So we have a customer service team member named Elio. She is delightful. She started here after high school. She went to school, college, a nearby college. So she's been here for 5 years. So I'm like, okay, she's on the counter 3 times a week. I'm going to go ask her. So Elio, do you have a couple stories? Like, I'm going to be on in a half hour. Like, come on. She's like, oh yeah. She goes, I remember during training, I was training with Catherine and we were checking in this pocket of this old man and he had business cards in his pocket and he was just old. I remember him being at the counter. He was old. She kept saying old and I was checking in his suit and something fell on the floor and it rolled underneath the laundry cart. So that I moved the laundry cart and I picked this thing up and I was like, Catherine, what is that? She goes, this is a vibrator.
Yes.
Hey,
Just in case.
And yes,
he's an old guy.
An old guy. Now, she was 18, so maybe old at that time was 40. But anyways, yeah, that was, and then she said they had another unique customer that came in one time and he had a weed printed thong that he needed clean and the seam stitched.
And
she's like,
stitched.
she remembered these like they were yesterday and they were like 5 years ago. She goes, I even have the picture on my phone still.
Those are good answers. That
wait, there's one
off
more.
The clock going.
I saved the last one for
Okay,
the best
we're
one
ready.
for last.
Wait, Kathy, did you guys have to put a heat seal on the?
No, we didn't heat seal back then. We were still pin and day tags. But the last one was, I always told my team, don't ever say no. Somebody calls on the phone and they ask something, you just say yes, okay? And then let me figure out how to get it done. Okay, so they always said, yes, bring it in. Yes, bring it in. So next day I go into work, I go into the detailing station and there's a mattress there, a full-size bed mattress.
I love that. I love that.
I go, you guys, what? They're like, well, you told us never to say no.
They're like, do you clean cars? And you're
So
like, yes,
then-
we do.
I call the man and tell him that we don't clean mattresses. And he's like, well, the girl on the phone told me you did, and so I expect you to. All right, so I hang up the phone. I'm like, does anybody have a carpet cleaner or Upholstery. So we go and we get an upholstery cleaner and we're in the back room and we take the upholstery cleaner to the mattress
I
bed.
love that.
Yeah. Oh, and then I have my top yuck. Can I give you our
Yes.
top yuck? Our
What is
top
that?
yuck
Top
list
yuck?
is
Yeah.
flossers in pockets.
Ooh, that is
Yeah.
yucky.
Yeah.
dad would hate
we
to hear
see we see a lot of them. And not to stereotype, but one sex probably a little bit more than the other.
Yeah, no, understood completely.
She's looking at us right now.
No, I know. You know, the problem is she said it 45 minutes ago, but I still have a Dallas cheerleader in my head. I don't know what's going on. Oh,
Well-
Kathy, this has been such a pleasure. I know anybody listening to this has just taken away from it a bunch of goodness. And I think ultimately the optimism with the practicality and doing the right thing, when you put those things together, it doesn't matter what happens in life, you're going to succeed. So you are a testament to that. And it's been a joy to spend some time with you.
Kathy, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. I won't lie, I was very nervous. Public speaking is not my strength, but when it's something I'm passionate about, my true self, my true Irish comes out in me.
You did such a good job. Flowed
you.
very, very well. And I know everybody listening to this definitely took something away.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Where do we want to find her at?
Yeah. Kathy, where can people find you and follow you?
So find me. I mean, I take calls all the time from people that have questions. So my email is kbenzingers@benzingers.com.
Okay.
But I know we have Facebook, Instagram.
Benzingers?
Yeah, Benzingers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll put the links in there as well. But yeah, thanks again, Kathy. And we're excited about this. Hey, this was a great one. Please continue to listen along. We've got some really good stuff coming. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify video, and that's at Cleaner Conversations. Audio is on Apple Podcasts, again, at Cleaner Conversations. Please feel free to jump on and follow our socials and interact. So we appreciate you guys, appreciate all the support.
Have a great day, everybody.